Hi, let me say here in my second video that I miss teaching you guys and having you in the classroom. It's a lot more fun when we have a discussion. So here we go, chapter 7. Gene calls his own fall in the river a baptism, and that's symbolic. What is a baptism? It's an initiation rite. Many of you were baptized into a religious faith. There's also the phrase baptism by fire, your first time in battle. Remember, there's a war going on. A lot of young men are going to have a baptism by fire. Brinker, who's moved into the room across the hall from Gene, is your, as Gene says, a standard prep school article. He's probably got the blazer with the insignia on it. He's got the school tie. He's very straight. He's the standard big man on campus. Everybody wants to be his friend. Good looking, well groomed. And jokingly, he accuses Gene of doing what he did to Finney to get his own room. And Gene is sort of waiting for somebody to accuse him outright of injuring Finney and causing Finney to be injured. But nobody is going to do it. This is as close as anybody comes. But Brinker's not even serious. They talk about the truth Gene and Brinker do, and Brinker and Gene come to the conclusion the truth hurts, but it has to come out. And it always does. But the question is, well, what truth is going to come out? Remember, we're not certain back there on that tree limb. Was that a deliberate act or an accident? The kids smoke, unfortunately, and they go down to a place called the butt room. It's a place where they go and smoke cigarettes. And Gene says it looks like a dungeon where you put criminals. And remember that Gene feels criminal inside himself. And down there they conduct a mock trial. Brinker is judge. And Brinker charges Gene of committing fratricide. Well, what's fratricide? Well, it's killing your brother. Patricide, you kill your father. Matricide, you kill your mother. Decide is to kill the alternative. And Gene is accused of this. You pushed him out of the tree, and Gene is supposed to testify, and he tries to say the words, I pushed him out of the tree. But he can't say it. The words catch in his throat, and I can't say them. Well, let's look at why he can't say them. He can't say them because they're not true. He didn't push Finney out of the tree. Remember the wording again. My legs bent and I jounced the limb. He didn't say I bent my legs and jounced the limb. My legs bent and jounced the limb. And again, I know you don't want me to repeat myself, but he's maybe trying to maintain his balance and jounces the limb and Finney falls. So saying he pushed him out of the tree just isn't true. Okay. We have to ask ourselves, what is Gene doing in the butt room? Gene doesn't smoke. So he's sort of like a fish out of water. It's like going to a party where everybody's eating French fries and you say, well, I don't eat French fries. Well, what are you doing there? What is he doing there? And yet, while he's waiting for it to happen, nobody pries into him and what happened. Nobody insinuates anything about what happened on that tree. And now the war starts to invade the school. And you shouldn't really be surprised about this because it's inevitable. So they have to pick apples. That's the first thing they have to do to help the war effort. But that's kind of one of the ways of peace. And Devin is still into the ways of peace, but it won't be for long. And Leper LePellier is, of course, we've already established, the different guy. He's isolated in a room somewhere else on the campus. We talked about his name, leper, leprosy, the diseased one. Well, he's not really that diseased. He's just a pacifist. And then the boys are volunteered to go and shovel off the snow from the rail line so the troop train can get through. And so they go. But Leper does not do this. He isolates himself and goes cross-country skiing instead. He likes cross-country skiing. He doesn't like downhill skiing. Of course, neither do I. He says, I like to see what I'm passing and I like to enjoy myself. he's into the ways of peace, and he's going to stay in the ways of peace. So he's hard to avoid making fun of, Gene realizes, because Devon is a competing and very intense, keyed up place. And that's how it is there. So they go out and shovel off the rail line, and they start off as fresh volunteers, and they end up being exhausted manual laborers. And that's what manual labor does to you. And then the troop train comes rolling by, and Gene looks at the soldiers, and they look like they're having a good time. They're clean, they're energetic, they're going places. Well, yeah, they're going into war, and some of them are going to die by one means or another in that war. So they can look clean and energetic, they might not. Some of them are not going to come back. The kids get to the rail yard, and they realize, or Gene does, that the world is going elsewhere. It's converging into other places, and we're just unheroic children. But remember, these are kids in their late teens. And the wars in 1942 got 3 years left. Some of them are going to be converging into those other war-like places. And you realize that training is where it's at, but Devon's education is kind of useless and futile. What are we doing here? We should be training for the war. They catch up to Lepper, and everybody is going to vent their tempers on him because he's different. And Gene tries to prevent that from happening, but he admits, Lepper does, well, I wasn't going to shovel snow. I went off looking for a beaver dam. And so Hadley Brinker decides, I'm going to enlist to prove I'm really courageous. And Gene feels that he wants to enlist. He wants to enlist not because he wants to fight or of any patriotism. He wants to escape his past, which is a mistake because you can't escape your past. Now Gene makes a major quote of his self-analysis. He says that I always find something deadly in whatever attracts me. And if it's not there, I put it there, as I did with Phineas. And I'll say it again. I always find something deadly in whatever attracts me. And if it's not there, I put it there. And that's what I did with Finney. And he comes up behind on the heels of that he owes nothing to anyone but himself. He's trying to be selfish. And then he hears Finney's back, and his mind does a complete 180. And he's not that way at all. That's chapter 7.